Now that a living entity, when he is trying to be freed from anarthas, jesam tu antagatam papa, from whom all this sinful reaction is eradicated by following the 4 regulative principles. What is that? Minimum thing is that one must establish in dharma: satya, daya, tapasya and suci. Satya is destroyed when one do gambling, that is the sinful reactions. One must not do such sinful activities by gambling. One also should not earn money in improper means by cheating to others, that is also gambling. So when one is freed from this sinful reaction, then he can establish satya in him. Daya or kshama is destroyed when one is doing meat eating or depending upon others' flesh by killing them. So this is very sinful. By this process, the dharma which is for daya and kshama is not there. Then tapasya is also very important. When one is intoxicated with drinking or smoking, etc., then the tapasya quality or the dharma for tapasya is destroyed in him. Similarly, when one need to maintain very cleanliness in himself so that he can purify his mind both anta and bahya, internally and externally. So the antakarana suci and bahya karana suci, one need to maintain regular bodily cleanliness like bathing, etc., and one need to clean his mind from the lusty desires by not associating with other women in lusty desires. So that is illicit sex, that maintain the uncleanness. That cleanliness is very, very important. One has to remain pure in his internal state and external state. When one chant holy name, being freed from the lusty desire towards other women, then he can be maintained in this suci. So 4 foundational religious principles: satya, daya, tapasya and suci. So when one living entity is freed from these anarthas, and many other anarthas are also there, they are the gigantic anarthas present in the human being, must be cut down from the root itself. There should not be any root of these 4 sinful reactions. Then when one is freed from dvandva and moha, as we discussed, then he will able to surrender himself to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, one is not able to execute devotional service to Supreme Personality of Godhead when his mentality is dwelling in sinful lives. And there are sinful reactions also which won't allow himself to execute devotional service, because such a person cannot relish the transcendental bliss. So when such devotee who is freed from anartha might have many sinful reactions in his previous life, all this can be eradicated by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 18.66 sloka of Bhagavad-gītā. Sarva dharman paritejya mameka saranam braja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayaswami masucha. Sarva dharman paritejya, here we just spoke about to following dharma, and in this sloka abandon all the varieties of dharma is instructed by Arjuna. What is the meaning then? Is it appearing contradictory? No. Sarva dharman paritejya. Dharma for a living entity can be defined by he himself is not appropriate. Dharma that is defined by Supreme Personality of Godhead is the real dharma. Dharmam tu sakyat bhagavat pranitam. But the dharma which is described in Veda Shastra are very elaborate in nature. For all kind of specific people, a specific kind of dharma is defined for them, for their elevations. There are various degrees of elevations in human being. Brahmanas are said to be most elevated. Those who are real Brahmanas, who knows Brahman, they are the most elevated. Then Kshatriyas, then Shudras, Vaishyas and Shudras, like that. Shudras, their elevations into the knowledge and knowledge about Supreme Brahman and practice are very meager. That's how they also need an upliftment. So Veda gives different directions for Shudras, for Vaishyas, for Kshatriyas and for Brahmanas. And with this all complexities of varieties, just like a good lawyer represent constitution in front of the judge, similarly the expert Brahmana or Vaishnavas can explain the principles of the religion in a well manner in front of the appropriate audience. So what is applied, how it is applied, what is the applications, all explanations need an expert devotee who can explain that. So that is a puzzle that one is unable to decide dharma, especially by the circumstances, by the desire, by the place and by various thoughts. One have various mentality to define a dharma for himself. Some says this is my dharma and some other says no, this is not my dharma. So this kind of contradictory statement can come when we compare two people, how these two people dharma are different. In America the traffic rule is that go by right side, and in India the traffic rule is that to go by left side. But it appears to be contradictory. If somebody is not in true dissemination, he may say that the traffic rule of America is wrong, and other who has come from America, he will see the traffic rule of India is wrong. But both are meant to maintain traffic. If it will be maintained in a particular way, then traffic will be maintained. So the objective is to be understood in a reference with the primary objective. This kind of subjective principles can be understood. Subjective means which is vary, objective means which is the goal. So goal is not varying, the principles are sometimes varying. So these are creating certain puzzles in the mind of so-called ordinary people who are not very much conversant in Shastras or the scriptures. That is why there are varieties of mundane religious principles present among the people. So Lord Kṛṣṇa is informing Arjuna that all such mundane principles can be given up. Now that one has come to the surrenderness of Kṛṣṇa, can work directly under the instructions of the Kṛṣṇa. So Kṛṣṇa has given all these instructions to living entity so that he will be able to come. Now that Arjuna is directly able to listen to the instructions from Kṛṣṇa, so Kṛṣṇa is informing him that you may give up all such varieties of dharmas which is concocted by your mind. Just like Arjuna was confused whether to kill or not to kill, whether means in what way he may get happiness, in what way he may not get happiness. He may get happiness from austerity, he may not get happiness by ruling a kingdom. So much confusion was there. So he will not get happy by killing his brothers and his relatives, his gurus. So many confusion was there. So now he was advised that you give up all such so-called mentally concocted dharmas. Now the dharmas which will be enacted or given by Supreme Personality of Godhead, you need to follow that. So that is the meaning of giving up all varieties of dharma, especially manodharma. When mind defines a dharma, that is called manodharma. When dharma is defined by Supreme Personality of Godhead, explained in the scripture, followed by Guru Parampara system, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, then that will lead to Krishna consciousness. Others, those who are mental concocted, can be Kaitava dharma, dharma projihita kaitava, nirmasaranam Sruhut Satam. That is the first sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is meant to destroy all such mundane dharmas, which are secondary things, which is not contributing to the main thing. Mukhya pathe jiva paye Krishna prema dhan. All other path where there can be some benefit. What kind of benefit? Bhukti, mukti, siddhi, and labha, puja, pratishtha. These are some of the benefits that most of the people follows. They are called secondary path, gauna patha. And what is mukhya patha? Mukhya patha is Krishna prem, the love of Godhead. By the love of Godhead, a living entity can become fully happy. In secondary path, whatever amount of effort he may put in enjoying various sense enjoyment called bhukti or siddhi, so many perfections, magical perfections one may get, becoming light, becoming heavier, flying in the sky, walking in the water, anima, laghima, garima, there are so many siddhis. But by that, he cannot become happy. Bhukti, siddhi or mukti, one may get Brahma Sajujya liberations. By that also, he cannot become ultimately happy, even though Brahmananda is much greater happiness than material pleasure, but it is very small in front of Bhakti Sukha.